everyone, I'm Wunmi Bello. Welcome to the Wunmi Bello Show. Every episode, I'll be bringing you unfiltered stories from old and new friends who've given me access into their most vulnerable and life-changing moments. Each conversation will take you on a therapeutic journey with laughter and refreshing relatability. On this episode, I'm sat with social media influencer and personality, Loz. She walks me through her previous but public relationship, dealing with loss, her viral moments, and much more. I'm really excited about this conversation.
So much.
I think a lot of us were first introduced to Loz as Jay Huss's girlfriend. I think that was like, what, 2017?
2000 end of 2016 going into 2017, yeah.
And I feel like at that time there was so much, for me, anytime I came online, it was always some sort of like controversy attached to your name as the years like progressively went on. Yeah. And I wasn't really like internalizing a lot of the stuff that I was seeing online, but we obviously have our mutual friends, Monica, and we went out not the other day, like 4 months ago. And I feel like that day, like we went to dinner and I was kind of just observing, feeling the vibes. And I was like, oh my gosh, you are not what I expected, especially from the stuff that you see online. Like your vibe is so chill, very chilled. And from that day, I was kind of like, I feel like people, there's like a misunderstanding about you. How do you feel when I say that?
I totally agree. I feel like, obviously on social media, when you're posted on things like the blogs and things like that, like obviously they only post certain bits, which then creates like a narrative, and then people take that and run with it. Do you know what I mean? Not knowing that that might not actually be fact. Do you know what I mean? And I definitely say on the definition of don't judge a book by its cover. Do you know what I mean? That's definitely what I would say. So I do agree. I do believe I'm very misunderstood. But once you get to know me, I'm like really nice.
I think that's really I feel like that's why one of the main reasons why I was like, I really want to have a conversation with you. Because I think even on that night, I don't know if you mind me saying, but on that night your car got broken into, whatever. And when we came out, like you were so, not necessarily chilled, but your reaction wasn't what I expected.
Yeah, I feel like I was in a state of shock for one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? One, the area, central London, I'm thinking this is top of
like,
the tops,
what?
uptown. These things don't happen down here, but I think I was just very shocked. And I feel like, obviously you remember when we came out, we saw the glass on the floor. We was like, oh, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? And then I got in my car and I felt breeze at the back. And we've got the same car, the Audi A1. So I've only got 3 doors. So when I felt breeze, I said, well, how so? Because I don't have windows that can wind down. And I turned around and I couldn't believe it. I honestly just feel like it was shot. But at the end of the day, I just feel like there's no point making a big fuss out about it, because it's not going to change the situation. Let me just get my glass fixed, which I did the next day.
Yeah. I feel like that is very much your vibe, though. You're very, how do I word it? You're very black and white about things. Definitely. Like, okay, this is a situation, like, what do we do next? Yeah. And it makes me really wonder, it makes me want to know you as, like, Lorraine in terms of your childhood rather than Loz. Yeah. So I know you grew up in a Caribbean household. What was that dynamic like for you?
So yeah, I did grow up in a Caribbean household. Both my parents were born in Jamaica. Yeah. I'm one of 5, but I'm the youngest.
Definitely thought you were only child.
No, I'm the youngest. I'm one of 5. And I grew up in a very religious background, like my parents and like my family are mainly like Seventh-day Adventists. Yeah. So I would always go to church on Saturday, which we call the Sabbath. So I had a very like good background. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I had a nice childhood. I enjoyed it.
What was your relationship like with your parents? Were you close to them?
Very close, very, very close with my parents. I'd say I was a daddy's girl, for sure. I definitely was a daddy's girl. And I feel like because both my parents were married, like both parents were always present. Do you know what I mean? So I never had the absence of a father or anything like that. I had a quite nice childhood. Like everything was like, it was a tight family unit. Do you know what I mean? So I'm grateful enough to say that I had.
You are very firm in like the way you see life, I think. Do you think that a lot of that comes from the way you saw your parents' dynamic in their relationship?
I would say that, and I'd say certain things happening in my life. Do you know what I mean? I feel like, for example, like the passing of my dad. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That was something that definitely changed me as a person. Do you know what I mean? I looked at life differently. Do you know what I mean? I had a different perspective on life. Do you know what I mean? I feel like when you go through certain things, it does change you as a person. I'd say that event there definitely made me look at life differently.
How did you find out about the passing of your dad?
So basically he was in Jamaica because he had like a family house out there, and he took sick out there, unfortunately. And I don't know how much you know about Jamaica, but it is like a third world country. Like the healthcare isn't the best, and it was one of them things where it had escalated way too far before like it could get better. Do you know what I mean? He was too far gone, so I had to fly out there, and it just took a turn for the worse. And he unfortunately didn't make it. So yeah, that definitely changed me as a whole person. Do you know what I mean? Because like I said, my father was always present. Yeah. So to then not have that father figure anymore, it was hard.
How did you handle that?
For the first year, I didn't. I was in depression. That's what a lot of people don't know. I was in depression, and I feel like around that time there was just so much bad things happening, and you know when you feel like there's like a cycle of bad things, it just consumes you as a person. Do you know what I mean? I'm human at the end of the day, so there's only certain things I can deal with, and the passing of my father was not one of them. When it was early on into like the first couple of months, the first year was definitely difficult for me, but as time's gone on, you kind of learn to accept it. You never get over it. I'm not sure if you've ever lost anyone close to you like that, but you never get over it. You just learn to continue living life. Do you know what I mean?
Because you know that they would want you to continue living life.
Exactly that.
Walk me through your relationship with Hus and how you guys got together.
So we met in 2016. He just DM'd me on Instagram, like, yeah, he literally just DM'd me on Instagram. At that time, though, I wasn't as bait or as known as I am now, but I still had a decent following. I was still on like 12k, you know what I mean? I was still doing my thing. And yes, I was on about like 12,000 followers. And then this guy from wherever just came in. It was just like whatever he said, I can't remember. And you know when you just vibe with someone, like they're not the way you expect them to be. Basically how you expected me, exactly like that. Like he was so humble and everything like that, which drew me to him. And obviously our relationship then progressed and became very public and things like that. So yeah, that was like a very, what's the word? That was a big time in my life. That's when everybody obviously got to kind of know who I was. Do you know what I mean? But like at the time of that happening, like my dad was still alive then. Do you know what I mean? So everything was fine around that time. But like it was when my dad had passed, not long after we had broken up. So it was like one loss after another. And with me, I define like a breakup as a loss, even though the person's still very much alive, but you're no longer in my life anymore. So I have to learn to live life without you. Do you know what I mean?
What led to you guys breaking up?
I'd say,
I know you did mention in your video, like you said that he
I'd say
cheated.
disagreements and like the whole cheating thing that happened after, because we kind of got back together again. But the first time, I'd say like his fire on fire, the two together, it's like a volcano waiting to happen. Do you know what I mean? And I felt like I was young then. Do you know what I mean? So I felt like the way I handled situations wasn't the best. I'm not just going to sit here and blame him, but I feel like the way I handle situations as well wasn't the best. And obviously, as you grow older, you mature, you learn how to deal with situations. So that was the reason why we broke up the first time. And then the second time, there was like some cheating thing going on. And obviously, like, when them things happen, it's like, I don't really, well, me as a person, I didn't really want to continue being in that like situation type of thing. So I just remove myself.
How obviously I know at that time you loved him. How was it for you internalizing that you had to, this is a loss that you have to carry on?
It was hard. Like again, I was definitely deep in depression at this point. I remember even having to go counselling because it was just too much, and because the relationship was so public, the breakup was also public. But once you put your relationship out there, whether you like it or not, you're creating an avenue for people to have an opinion on your life. And someone like me, I can take opinions to a certain extent, but I'm also very reactive. So if you're going to say something, I'm going to come at you like, I'm going to come at you. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I have to realise, you know, you did put your relationship out there. So that's what you're going to get, that unwanted criticism, those unwanted opinions.
Before you guys got together, obviously you said that you were on 12k following, and you know you had a following, but it wasn't as big as it is now, as big as it was when you first got with him. How did you feel knowing that you're about to immerse yourself into this world that you've never been in before? And by this world, I mean he's a big superstar, and you're about to enter his world, which means a lot of people are going to be knowing you as, you know, Jay Huss's girlfriend. How did you feel knowing that that's the chapter you're about to enter in your life?
I felt like, for me at the time, I was very like naive. Like I didn't, even though obviously he's a rapper and stuff, like he's famous and whatever, I didn't see him like that. I only remembered I was going out with someone famous when we'd go out. Do you know what I mean? But when I was with him, he was like a normal person. Do you know what I mean? So you get very comfortable, and then when you're out of those like safe environments and you go out, it's just like, oh, I'm going out with someone now. So I wouldn't say it was something I was prepared for. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't prepared for it. I just kind of like dealt with it as it came. Do you know what I mean? But it was overwhelming, because what I didn't realize is that when you go out with someone famous, even though you are your own person, you go in their shadow naturally. And I found, like, especially towards the end of the relationship, having to kind of fight for my name and kind of say, okay, even though you knew me from this relationship, which is what happens when you get in a public relationship, even though you knew from this relationship, that relationship doesn't define me. And that's the struggle that I found with being in a relationship.
Because a lot of people would just identify you as Jay Huss's girlfriend.
Honestly, I remember like I think it was like 2017 to like 2018, it was like, oh, you just known as Jay Huss's ex. Do you know what I mean? Like, and obviously for me, it was very triggering, because I know I'm Lorraine Rebecca Smith. Do you know what I mean? That's who I am. Well, I'm just putting my government on here, but yeah. My God, I'm Lorraine, and do you know what I mean? Yeah, I went out with this person, but that doesn't define me. Do you know what I mean? But a lot of the times people would kind of say that to get under my skin, and at one point it did. But now, if you say that to me in 2020, I'm like, yeah, and what? So what? Do you know what I mean?
I love that. Do you think that the breakup that you guys had changed you as a person too?
I'd say definitely. It definitely did change me. You learn a lot. Do you know what I mean? When you come out of situations, you learn when you're not in the situation. Do you know what I mean? You realise, you know, I could have dealt with this situation better. I learned a lot about myself as well, the way I was as a person, and the way I want to go on to deal with people in like next relationship. So I would say that it definitely changed me to a certain extent.
Do you know what I find really interesting? I think knowing that, I think in a lot of your videos that I watched, I remember you constantly talking about, you know, your religion, not constantly, but just mentioning, you know, you coming from like a religious home, etc. And even in this conversation now, you've mentioned it. I think there's been like moments where, you know, he's obviously come out and said certain things about his religious beliefs and stuff. And it makes me wonder, how did that work with the belief that you had, especially with the upbringing that you had to, you know, grow up in such a religious household?
I think for me, when me and him got together, I wasn't as religious as I was. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, there's certain fundamentals and morals that are always going to stick with you when you've grown up in a religious household. But I think at that time, that's kind of when, and I hate to say it, I was kind of steering away from church. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like...
Was that because of the relationship, though?
No, that wasn't because of the relationship. That was just because, like, I was getting to the age where, like, my parents no longer had to tell me to go to church. Do you know what I mean? Like, even though they didn't have to tell me when I was young, but like when you get to the age of like 17, 18, do you know what I mean? I can kind of make my own decisions now about whether I wanted to attend. So for me at the time, I felt like I didn't deep it too much because of my personal situation with my religion at that point. Do you know what I mean? I felt like, who am I to say to this person, you should be living this life, but I'm not living this life? Do you know what I mean? I felt that was a bit hypocritical if I was to do that. So I didn't really think about it too much, if I'm honest. I
kind of just turned like a blind eye to it.
Basically.
No, I hear
basically.
That. I think after the relationship happened, there was a big moment. I think obviously there was like a little quiet moment for you. Yeah. And then, you know what I'm about to ask you right now? There was like a moment online and it was like Shaku on the beat. And I remember specifically like watching the video of myself and I was just like, oh, this is hilarious. Like, this is vibes, like she's obviously joking. And the next morning it was like a whole different conversation online. So before we even dive into like what the public thought about it, what was what happened, like the lead up of you even doing that video?
So basically, I think it was 2018. I don't know if you remember at the time, Kodak Black had brought out that song, and there was a challenge trending on Instagram at the time where people from far and wide were just jumping on the beat and doing whatever. So I decided to jump on the beat. I don't know who or what possessed me, but I just decided to do it, not thinking it would get such a reaction. Do you know what I mean? I never in a million years thought it would get that type of reaction. And lo and behold, it was more than I could have expected. I remember when I posted it, I saw the odd comments there, but then I saw people tagging their friends. I'm thinking, wow, why are they tagging their friends? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not that deep. And then, like, say 4 hours had gone past, and then I remember my Instagram started to crash. And I said, okay, cool, something's clearly taking place here. So I rang my friend, I said, is my Instagram still there? Because I couldn't see my page anymore, so I was worried that it had been deleted. But what had happened was there was so much reception on the page at that time that my phone and my Instagram couldn't deal with it. And I remember my friend was just like, your account's still there, but the video is on I'm Just Bait. And if you know about I'm Just Bait, you don't want to be on that. Yeah, it was on that and other Instagram profiles with high followings. And when I heard it was on I'm Just Bait, my heart was literally like this.
What did you think was happening before even seeing it?
Do you know what it is? If you've followed I'm Just Bait, like, you know, with them type of videos, like, people are gonna draw you out. They're gonna say the maddest of maddest things. So for me, I was just like, oh no, like, I'm on this app and like I'm Just Bait, and this is not what I signed up for. I just wanted to post my video and go. Do you know what I mean? But that definitely did not happen.
But then you continued though. You went on to do the video.
Yeah, I did go.
What made you even want to do that?
Do you know what it is? I saw the attention that it got, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna ride the wave. I didn't create the wave. This is what people need to understand. A lot of them things that go viral, it's the consumers that make it go viral. So for me, it was just like, okay, the wave is here, and I'm going to ride it. So I read it. And read it and read it. I did shows. I was on BBC. I was doing interviews.
Were you making money off it?
I was making money. I remember I was getting booked for shows. I remember I opened up. Was it for One Day Cold? I remember at the O2.
What?
Yeah, I did, and that was really scary for me. Somebody that's
One Day Cold.
Yes, someone that's never wanted to be an artist. So to get those opportunities, I was like,
do you
know what I mean? And I had DJs like Tim Westwood and stuff playing it. Like, it was crazy. Do you know what I mean? Because I never expected it. So for me, it was definitely overwhelming, but I just enjoyed it until I could. But obviously it started to turn a bit negative with the way people was like receiving it after. Like, I remember I was getting death threats, and for me, that was just way too far. Do you know what I mean? To go tell someone to die and things like that just because I've gone and jumped on a song. Yeah, I may have been in a public relationship before that, but that doesn't mean you should go and tell someone to die. Do you know what I mean? So I couldn't quite get my head around that. I was thinking, the two don't weigh up. I've put a song up, you're telling me to die. I can't see the correlation. Do you know what I mean?
But people online are absolutely tapped, as you know. But when you, so after you did Shack on the Beat, and then you did another song, and I remember, I can't remember the name of the song, but you did. So that's the one. So there was an interview I was watching of yours, and you were saying that you wanted to do a song like single, or just another song in general, just to see how people really felt about your artistry. Obviously, I know that music's not really your thing.
It's not.
So what were you expecting out of that song?
Do you know what it was? I think I let a lot of people get in my ear. I was like, yeah, do it. And it's all right, you telling me to do it, but you're not the one that has to deal with the hate. Do you know what I mean? So I felt like I kind of set myself up for that, but I was listening to too many people saying, oh yeah, go on and do this video. And I kind of let that get the better of me. Do you know what I mean? Forgetting that at the end of the day, it's me that's going to have to go home and deal with the online abuse from this.
Because I think that brought even more online abuse, that song.
It did. Not as much as Shack on the Beat, because Shack on the Beat was unmatched. It was trending on Twitter. I was a meme. Even to this day, every October, it comes up. And I'm just like, oh my God, just let it go. Put it to bed.
Oh my God.
But yeah.
So do you feel like doing the single song gave you the answer that you needed, that, you know, perhaps music just isn't really the bag you need to be?
Yeah, it's not. I feel like I could do music if I wanted to, to get like a ghostwriter and take it seriously. Yeah. But that's not what I wanted to do. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not my craft. Yeah. I'll leave that to the professionals.
I think we were diving into this a little bit earlier, where you were talking about, it felt like three things kind of happened to you, you know, simultaneously around this period. It was like the breakup, then it was, you know, your dad's passing, and it was also the online hate. It makes me, and I watched a couple of your videos. I remember there was one in particular that I watched, and I was like, oh, this is so heavy, because you were talking about what the online abuse was doing to you internally, and you were dealing, at this time I didn't know exactly what you were dealing with, but now I know. And you were talking about the various things that were happening to you at the same time, that people don't understand, that, you know, outside of someone being an influence, etc., they're also dealing with real life things. When all these three things were happening to you, I can imagine it kind of felt like you kind of trapped a little bit. Definitely. How did you deal with those things simultaneously?
I'd say, one, I had a very good friendship group. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I needed to cry, which I did do at times, I had those friends to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would have to take myself off social media from time to time and just let it all out to my friends. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could be myself around them. And I feel like with social media, like it's very hard to be that without being judged, you know what I mean? So to be able to come to my friends and kind of just let my guard down and just be vulnerable and let it out, like that helped me a lot. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, like my family and things like that. And I'd just say, like, just learning not to respond to everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, it got to the point where I got exhausted responding back to strangers on the net, because that's what they are, they're strangers. I did not know you existed until you decided to fast up on my page and comment whatever. Do you know what I mean? So I had to definitely train myself to just stop reacting, because if I don't give you a reaction, what can you do?
But in those moments where I guess you were still like learning, you know, the fact that you don't need to react to everybody, and there was, I just remember the constant like, if it wasn't this, it was that. How, and I can just imagine how that would have made you feel in conjunction with everything else that you were going through. How did you not allow that to change the way you felt about yourself or how you viewed yourself?
I feel like when you know yourself as a person, like I'm a strong believer in myself. Do you know what I mean? I know who I am and what I'm about. So I was, as hard as it was, and there was times when the strangers on the net did get the better of me, and that's not even something that I would want to admit on here, but you know, there was times when those weirdos, those haters, did get the better of me. Do you know what I mean? But I had to quickly rein that in and say, listen, Lorraine, stop that, because one, that's what they want, and you know yourself, and you cannot tell someone about themselves. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to give you that satisfaction. You may have upset me for a few days or a few hours, but I wasn't going to let those comments define me, because I know who I am. Do you know what I mean?
Did you feel like you needed to, because you knew what was going on in your life at that time, did you feel like you needed to express that to them for them to almost have sympathy for you, to understand, like, I'm human, like, I'm going through things?
I didn't really express too much about the passing of my father, just because for me at the time, there's certain things I can do with. You can talk about my appearance, you can talk about my relationship, but you see close things like that, like my dad, I feel like if I put too much of that out there and someone had said the wrong thing, I'd be gunning for you until I find you. Do you know what I mean? That's just certain things I can't quite go past, let go past my head. Like, to talk about someone's dead loved one, to me is bottom of the barrel. So I didn't put too much of my dad's passing out there. I just, obviously, like when he passed away, like I posted that on social media, but not like the reasons and what happened and whatever not. I didn't like allow myself to do that, but I didn't want anyone to feel sorry for me, because one thing I've realized on social media, people do not feel sorry for you. Do you know what I mean? You can come up with the most heartfelt story, but there's always someone that's going to say something. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't even want to put myself in that position. Do you know what I mean? There's certain things that I shared and there's certain things that I didn't share. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially my breakup, I didn't really touch on it too much with what had happened, because I just felt like the way I wanted to deal with it, people wouldn't have allowed me to deal with it. Do you know what I mean? I felt like people were policing my feelings, and I didn't like that. So for me, the less I put out there, the better. I didn't want anyone to feel sorry for me or anything. I didn't do that.
I think even thinking about the breakup, obviously you've expressed that you called the quits after, you know, the whole cheating, and even before that. I think for a lot of women, you know, when dating stars like Jay Huss, for example, it would be considerably harder for them to want to leave the relationship, perhaps because they know what they're gaining from it. Why was it so easy for you to feel like, I don't need this, I'm good?
I just felt like I'm very irrational. Do you know what I mean? So even if I didn't want that to be the decision, one, I can't take embarrassment, I can't take shame. So for me, those two things were very dominant at that time. So I just felt like I'm just gonna remove myself, even if I did still love him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just can't take those two things. So I just took myself out the situation. Do you know what I mean? And I'm all about like women, like knowing their worth and things like that. Obviously, it's not easy. Not everyone can just get up and go. Do you know what I mean? Not everyone can do that. But I felt like at the time, I needed to, just so I could like grow. Do you know what I mean? So that situation didn't stunt my growth or anything like that. I just wanted to just take myself out of it and just start again. And I felt like at the time, because of how much hate I was getting from being attached to him, I just thought, you know what? I just need to kind of like take myself out of the situation now, because I was in his shadow and attached to his name for so long. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just kind of wanted to be separate, how I started off.
Do you think are you happy with that decision?
I think I made the right decision for me at the time. I think at the time I did make the right decision for me. Yeah, I did. I would say that.
When thinking about some of the opinions, I guess these blog pages, you know, like the Shade Borough, the what other ones, UK Gossip, etc., have to say about you, and the way they, I guess the way they try to, you know, paint your character by continuously posting, even if it's like innocent videos of yourself, vibing with your friends, whatever you might do, and reading some of those really intense hate comments about yourself, especially in the space that you are right now. I think back then it would have been, I think back then it's easier to attach yourself to it, whereas now like you're in a completely different mindset. I feel like you're in a completely different space. What do you do when you read those comments now? What is your thought process now?
Let me get a drink for this one, because there's a certain situation that happened the other day, and
Tell me.
for me it's a thing where when I was getting posted on the blogs, when it kind of first started, that was when my relationship was present. I didn't really respond, but when it was kind of me just being posted, the hate was there anyway, but that's when it had really like
skyrocketed.
It
was
did.
Crazy.
It really, really did. And sometimes I would like go back and forth with people. Do you know what I mean? So I'm thinking, no, you're not saying that. Do you know what I mean? How dare you?
Yeah.
I'm not going to have you saying that. Do you know what I mean? Because what I can't stand is people thinking they know me better than I know myself. I can't take that. Do you know what I mean? Why are you so wrong and strong? That's what it is. Do you know what I mean? People are so strong, but yet you're so far off the truth. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes I would fall into the trap of going back and forth with people. But I thought, you know what? I don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't always need to explain yourself, and sometimes silence is the best answer. And as I'm going through social media now, as my platform's growing, I'm learning that. Do you know what I mean? Like, a situation will probably diffuse itself quicker if I don't say nothing. Do you know what I mean? Because if I'm going back and forth, it can go on for ages. So I don't even allow myself to do that
So
anymore.
do you think now it's a case of like you're not even going to bother with the back and forth?
I'm going to try not to. That is what I will say.
Because just the other day it was not the case.
Yeah, just the other day I let myself down by allowing an individual to draw me out, because that's what it is, it's drawing me out. You don't know me, I don't know you. Do you know what I mean? So what is the issue? Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, I think that day I just had enough. And I feel like in that week when I got drawn out, I think I was being posted on the blogs like so it was just like one topic after the other, and I just thought, right, today I've just had enough, and I'm gonna.
In those moments where you do feel like you said you let yourself down, what do you do after?
I sit and, do you know what it is? My friends are. I spoke about my friends a lot, but I have to definitely give allocation to my friends. Do you know what I mean? Because they keep me so grounded. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know myself, and I know that me giving people those reactions, that's what they want. Do you know what I mean? And I just felt like I didn't need to allow someone to get to me that much, because at the end of the day, I don't know you. Do you know what I mean? I do not know you. Like, I don't need to care what this person has to say. Do you know what I mean? Like, so for me, I was disappointed in myself because I knew I didn't need to react like that. I don't need to always come with so much energy. Sometimes just let people have their 2 pence, and that's it. Whether I agree with it or not, just push it to the side. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. I feel like people are going to be so shocked by like a lot of things, because you don't speak like this on your platform.
I don't.
You really don't.
I really don't.
I do feel like you're trying to. I think I saw that you launched the dance class the other day, and I was like, I really need to ask you about this, because a lot of people, when they launch certain things, there's like some sort of attachment in terms of what that creativity did for you at a point in your life. What does dance mean to you?
I feel like dance is just a time when I'm just enjoying myself. I'm just letting go. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just being me. That's part of Lorraine. Do you know what I mean? That's what Lorraine likes to do. So if I can implement Lorraine into Loz, like, I will do that. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, like, in lockdown, I feel like a lot of people started things that they probably didn't think they would have started. Even though COVID's definitely been annoying, at the same time, I think a lot of people agree as well, it's been very beneficial in terms of like business movements and things like that. Obviously, there's really nothing to do in lockdown, so I thought, okay, I like to dance here and there, and on my Snapchat, I'm always like uploading videos of myself like winding up and whatever. So I was just like, oh, and people would be like, oh, Loz waistline. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna do my own stuff, which I did, and I was really enjoying it. But obviously, like, I had more time to put into it then, because of obviously lockdown. But obviously now that things are back and running, I'm on like my main platform now, so I've kind of neglected Loz's Caribbean Fitness, but it will be back.
You mentioned that like you want to, I guess, put some aspects of Lorraine into Loz. Do you think that they're two different humans?
I feel like they are. I do feel like they are. I feel like it's, I don't know if the words are alter ego or something like that, but I feel like they're the same, but I feel like people mainly know Loz. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like the more they get to know Lorraine, if I bring the two together, that's when people will start to understand me more. Because obviously on social media, like, you can be anyone. Do you know what I mean? When you post certain things and you act a certain way, people are going to like create a perspective of you. Because whenever I meet people, they're like, oh, I never expect you to be like this. Do you know what I mean? They're like, oh, you're so humble, you're so calm to talk to. Oh, I would think that you think you're too nice. I'm like, no, I'm not like that. So long as you come to me correct, why am I going to go on like I'm too nice? I don't need to do that. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that's the way to move. Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like a lot of the time I get people saying that, and when they do meet me, it's Lorraine they see. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like I've started to kind of implement Lorraine into my platform more. Do you know what I mean?
Who is Loz and who is Lorraine? How would you describe the two or differentiate the two?
I'd say Loz and Lorraine are both very outspoken. But I'd say Loz sometimes ends up being passa and unnecessary drama, whereas Lorraine, she just minds her own business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she's just in her own world.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I would differentiate the two.
I feel like you're just in a completely different space to like when we were first introduced to you online. I think this interview is definitely going to show that more. How do you feel about where you're currently at mentally and emotionally?
I'm really happy with where I'm at. Like, obviously, you're nothing without your mentor. Do you know what I mean? If your mental state's not right, you're not right. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I'd say right now, I'm in the best mental state I've been in. Obviously, like, I still have off days and stuff, but that's just natural. But like, I'd say right now, compared to how I was in 2017, I'm definitely not there. Do you know what I mean? I'm not there at all. I'm happy. I'm enjoying life. I'm happy. That's all I can say. Like, happiness is the goal for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, money and all that, that's good, but happiness is the goal for me. And I'm only going to do things that are going to make me happy. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'd say that I'm in a good place right now.
I love that. I feel like this is the perfect way to round the convo. That was so good.
Thank you.
How'd you guys find that? That was great.
That was good, that was. I liked that.
Oh my gosh,
I
it was
did
so
like
like, it was like the most gentle side of you that I've...
different side.